It's been a quiet NFL offseason, but not for Brandon Aiyuk. He's been the topic of drama, and it keeps stirring. Aiyuk has been great for the 49ers, and he's entering the last season on his rookie deal, the fifth-year option. He has to get paid soon, and I don't know if it'll be the Niners to give it to him. There sure is some steam that he could land in Washington eventually, but who knows? Aiyuk and the Niners are at a contract stalemate, but he has said that he wants to play for the 49ers, but he didn't participate in the offseason program, and he skipped mandatory minicamp. The wide receiver market is booming right now, and Aiyuk wants to cash in. Justin Jefferson set the bar with a 4-year, $140 million contract, but A.J. Brown, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Jalen Waddle inked big deals too. Now Aiyuk's time is coming. San Francisco has to pay him or let him walk for nothing unless he's traded. I think it's a really real possibility. Aiyuk is a heck of a player, and there will be plenty of teams interested in him if he's available. It's odd to think about Brandon Aiyuk not on the 49ers. He's been on San Francisco for 4 seasons. Aiyuk was a first-round pick, 25th overall at the 2020 NFL Draft, and he's lived up to the draft spot. As a rookie, he played in 12 games and had 60 receptions for 750 yards and 5 touchdowns. His numbers were pretty similar the following season, 826 yards and 5 touchdowns on 56 receptions. It wasn't until 2022, the year Jimmy Garoppolo got hurt and was replaced by Brock Purdy, when Aiyuk started really crushing it. He had 1,000 yards and 8 touchdowns on 78 receptions. Deebo Samuel was really the Niners guy in 2022, but then it was Aiyuk, and it was again last season. He actually had less receptions and touchdowns, but jumped to 1,342 yards. He was incredible, and he's secured a huge contract, at least from someone. He's playing on his 5th-year option this season, but the clock is ticking, and he's going to get paid big. Maybe it's San Francisco. Maybe it's in Washington. The number one rumor surrounding Brandon Aiyuk is the potential of playing for the Commanders and reuniting with his college teammate, Jayden Daniels. A lot of the drama surrounding Aiyuk and Daniels started when Aiyuk posted a TikTok of him talking to Jayden, where he said the Niners didn't want him back. Then Aiyuk recently went on The Pivot, a podcast hosted by Ryan Clark, Fred Taylor, and Channing Crowder, and he brought Jayden with him and Benjamin. Aiyuk said the 49ers told him that they weren't on the same page. Of course, the topic of targets came up, and Aiyuk has definitely had to share a lot in San Francisco. So Aiyuk said that he has a lot more to give and said there's a quarterback there, and I'm wondering what I can do with him. Talking about Jayden. Aiyuk said that if he had to guess, he'd be in a 49ers uniform in week 1. If not, it'd be the Commanders or Steelers. It would be amazing to see Aiyuk and Jayden play together, especially as a Commanders fan. We already saw what that looked like at Arizona State. Aiyuk started at Sierra College, a community college in Rockland, California. He was a JUCO All-American as a sophomore and transferred to Arizona State to play for Herm Edwards, where he had 33 catches for 474 yards and 3 touchdowns, plus 381 return yards in 2018. Then the next year, Aiyuk broke out alongside freshman quarterback Jayden Daniels, and they had an iconic moment. Arizona State was up 3, but it was 3rd and 16 on the 19-yard line. Then Aiyuk just blew by the Ducks defense. Jayden hit him on a go route for an 81-yard touchdown to essentially win the game. It was spectacular, and Aiyuk had a really good season. 1,200 yards and 8 touchdowns on 65 receptions. Of course, Aiyuk was then drafted, and he hasn't played with Jayden since. Jayden had a good freshman season playing with Aiyuk, 17 touchdowns to 2 interceptions, but it was by far his best year at ASU. Then he transferred to LSU and put up similar numbers in 2022, 17 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Then he just absolutely dominated in 2023 with 40 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. It certainly helped playing alongside Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr. When given the weapons, Jayden has been really good, so get him Aiyuk to go with some already good weapons and Washington could be set. The Commanders are a popping spot for Brandon Aiyuk, mostly because of Jayden Daniels, but it would make a lot of sense for a few reasons. Washington does already have a number one receiver, Terry McLaurin. He's been great, but he sure could use another big target next to him. McLaurin has had 4 straight 1,000-yard seasons despite the revolving door at quarterback. Now Jayden is the guy and should be the guy for a long time. His development is key, and giving him another good wideout, specifically someone he's friends with and knows well, would be amazing. And the Commanders did try. Washington reportedly had conversations with the 49ers about trading for Aiyuk, but decided against it. I'd guess the Commanders, while rebuilding, don't want to give up a lot of picks. Aiyuk also responded on Instagram about the news, saying, "But I thought the Niners weren't trying to trade me." Really, it's not surprising the Niners were shopping Aiyuk. Aiyuk and McLaurin could be a deadly duo. The number 2 receiver right now is Jahan Dotson. He had 500 yards in back-to-back seasons, but he needs to make a jump. Then there's 3rd-round pick Luke McCaffrey and some good depth pieces, De'Ami Brown, Olamide Zaccheaus, and Jamison Crowder. And another big connection is Adam Peters, the Commanders' general manager, who knows Aiyuk well. He was last the assistant general manager for the 49ers, and before that was the vice president of player personnel when Aiyuk was drafted by San Francisco. Peters knows Aiyuk and the top guys for the 49ers. It makes sense. And even if it doesn't happen this offseason, Aiyuk could be tagged and moved next offseason or cut loose for nothing. There are only 2 teams with pretty good odds to land Brandon Aiyuk, the Commanders and the Steelers. Pittsburgh definitely makes a lot of sense for Aiyuk. The Steelers traded away Deontay Johnson to the Panthers, so George Pickens is the number 1 now after he had 1,100 yards last season. Then Van Jefferson is the number 2, who once had 800 yards with the Rams in 2021. Then Pittsburgh drafted Roman Wilson out of Michigan in the 3rd round, and Calvin Johnson, Quez Watkins, and Scotty Miller are some depth. The Steelers could clearly use some wide receiver help, and Aiyuk could work well. The quarterback situation is a little bit fuzzy. Russell Wilson signed a 1-year deal, and Justin Fields was traded for a 6th-round pick. It sounds like Russ is the starter, but maybe Fields plays at some point. There is some uncertainty in Pittsburgh, but Aiyuk would have a chance to be the number 1, and as long as Mike Tomlin is there, somehow the Steelers find ways to win. I'd expect Aiyuk to be traded to either the Commanders or the Steelers if he does, but a couple of other teams are interesting. The Patriots are on the prowl for a number 1 wide receiver. England has had woes at the position for years, and Drake May needs help. The number 1 priority for Gerard Mayo should be the development of May, and it'll be hard without any good offensive weapons around him. Kendrick Bourne is solid, but he's the number 1 wide receiver. That's gross. The Patriots were active at the draft, taking Jalen Polk in the 2nd round and Javon Baker in the 4th. Then Demario Douglas is entering year 2 after 500 yards as a rookie. He could be an important piece on the Patriots offense too. New England could just really use some help on offense, and Brandon Aiyuk would help fill it. The Broncos could use another receiver, especially one good like Brandon Aiyuk. Jerry Jeudy was traded to the Browns for picks and signed a 3-year, $58 million contract. It leaves Courtland Sutton as the top receiver in Denver after he had almost 800 yards and 10 touchdowns last season. He's had one 1,000-yard season in 2019. The Broncos did draft Troy Franklin out of Oregon in the 4th round. Then there are some solid options: Josh Reynolds, Marvin Mims, Tim Patrick. The Broncos really need some help there, especially for rookie Bo Nix whenever he starts, or if he beats out Jarrett Stidham and Zach Wilson. Then put a flyer on the Bills or Chargers, but it feels unlikely. All intentions say Commanders or maybe Steelers if Aiyuk doesn't stick around with the 49ers. But you never know. It's the NFL.